Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself while we're here.
Oh, all right. My name is Alvin Cobb Jr., Chicago-based drummer and composer, and we're here in my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, for my homecoming album release show here at the Red Light Cafe.
Okay. So, how are you feeling right now being here?
It's good. It's good to be home. This is my first show in 10 years, actually. So it's a sold-out show. So I'm happy to have a lot of support still here in the city, and it feels really good to be back, and especially that I can bring my band and celebrate my debut album.
So how did we get here? What was the beginning of you being a musician, a jazz drummer? And what made you want to be a drummer out of all the, I guess, quote-unquote jazz instruments?
Oh, yeah. So my father was probably my biggest musical influence. He put me in drum lessons right before I turned 11. It kind of felt like a chore at first, but once I got into high school, I really got into it. Both my parents went to HBCUs, so I was really into marching band and that whole thing. And when I was getting ready to go to college, I was kind of in between engineering and music, and I knew if I wanted to study drums in college, more often than not, jazz is the only way you can do that. So I kind of made a last-minute decision and ended up going to Florida State on the music scholarship, and then I went to graduate school at Northwestern right outside of Chicago for jazz drums as well. So I don't know, jazz was like my first love, but I guess over the years I just fell in love with it.
So we're here. This is I'm assuming this is your debut album.
Yes.
With your trio, Kathy and Julius, which they sound fantastic, by the way. Just listening to some of the sound check.
Thank you.
The name of the album is called You'll Need This Later. 13 songs, 56 minutes. What's the significance of that title? You opened up the album saying, you'll need this later. So what was the meaning behind the title of the album?
So my freshman year of college, I was in this counseling therapy program for first generation and students of color at Florida State. And the counselor I had, she would give me an exercise. What advice would you give younger students or a younger version of yourself? So it's kind of a thing I kept doing over the years. I guess I started doing it when I was 18, and now I'm 33. So it's been about 15 years of just writing notes to myself. And I started this band in 2020, and kind of as a way to get through the pandemic. And we needed original music. We had no music out yet, so I just decided to turn some of these notes and diary entries to songs. But the big influence is my grandfather, and he used to always say, children are messages that you send to a time that you'll never see. So that was kind of like the glue of the project. Just something that my younger self will be proud of, but also that my future self can look back and see that musically, but also as a person, I'm hopefully on the right path.
How's everybody doing? I feel like I know most of y'all in here, but for the sake of being formal, we are the Alvin Cobb Jr. Trio from Chicago, Illinois. But it's good to be home. It's good to be home. This is actually my first show in Atlanta in about 10 years, so sorry it took so long. But we have a good reason for being here. I just put out my debut album entitled You'll Need This Later, which is available on streaming, but more importantly, it's available on CD for those that would like to purchase it. These are my two friends. I'll tell you more about them later, but on piano, you'll be listening to Julius Tucker. And on bass and vocals, you'll be listening to Katie Ernst. So we have two sets of music for you tonight. The first set will be primarily my original compositions that are on the album. We'll do a few of those for you. Then we'll take a short intermission to grab some water and say hello. And then we'll open up the second set for some of the songs we like to play as a group. The songs on this album are centered around a conversation with my younger self, hence the name You'll Need This Later. And it's inspired by a quote that my grandfather used to tell me and my sister, Elise, children are messages that you send to a time that you'll never see. And once he passed, I know personally, I started to see the importance of that. So all the compositions are based around advice or warnings that I'm trying to give to my younger self, and hopefully I follow instructions. But yeah, I'm happy to share it. It's a sold out crowd. Thank you for getting your tickets in advance. Give it up for yourselves. And we'd like to thank Michael, whose birthday is today, for the Red Light Cafe. So we won't do, nothing much has changed about me, so we won't do too much talking tonight. But yeah, we have a lot of good music for you, so thank you for being here.
And this is kind of like a personal diary when you was back in college. How did the composition come together? Like you, the connection with Julius, the connection with Kate. Like how did you know sonically? How did you know how you want the album to sound?
So Julius and I went to music school together at Northwestern, but we were also roommates for a few years. And when the shutdown happened, like a lot of musicians, we basically lost all our gigs. But in the years prior to that, we had been playing around the city, and we had been in a few situations with Katie. And I knew if I ever started a band, I wanted both of them to be into it. They're very great players, great people, but also very sensitive players, and it helps with like a good group dynamic. Yeah, it just kind of worked out, and I think I gravitate towards smaller groups because I think you actually get to know each other musically and on the personal level. So it just worked out. Like I really didn't have an intention of really starting a band officially or putting out an album, but as we kept doing things, we started off with live streams and doing live shows, and then I was like, I'm sitting on some music or I have some ideas, so it just kind of happened naturally. It never really felt forced.
So when I listen to the project, which I will have to say the album is absolutely beautiful from top to bottom. It's not skipped.
I appreciate it. Thank
it sonically just flows. It's cohesive. I absolutely love the album.
Thank you.
When I listened to the album, I heard a lot of sub-genres of jazz. I heard your traditional jazz, your Harlem Renaissance. Then I heard contemporary jazz. But I also heard like a fusion of Atlanta sound, especially with South Fulton Medical Center, which, by the way, me and you were born in the same hospital.
All right.
So, how does that feel? I know you're from Atlanta, then you moved to Chicago. How does it feel bringing all of that music together and tying it into this project?
It felt good. I think the trap a lot of the young jazz musicians fall into, that they have to be current and follow the rules. But I wanted to do a project that reflected me, and I do like the jazz that I studied, whether it be traditional or contemporary. But I'm a '90s baby. I was born in East Point, so like trap and Outkast and all that stuff makes a huge impact on me. So like with that song South Fulton Medical Center, I was like, if I had a jazz trio to 808, how would that sound? And thankfully it worked out. But yeah, I always take Atlanta with me wherever I go. I got to grow up at a time where so much art and music was happening, so I can't help but have it come through me, or hopefully share it in like a respectful way too.
So how much writing did you do on this project? How much writing did you do on the project? How much did Kate and Julius have an impact with the project? Did you say, hey, this is the idea I want to go, or did their ideas kind of help shape this project?
Yeah, so all 13 songs I wrote. They're my original music, but all the songs have areas of improvisation, and in those areas, I always tell them, I just want you to be yourself. I'm not one of those band leaders or group leaders that's like, I have to have it a specific way. I just would rather us make a collective choice as a group and make sure the music sounds good. Julius has all the technique and wonderful ideas, and then the fact that Katie can sing and play bass kind of gives a unique sound to everything. But yeah, I like that we had different influences. They're both from Chicago. I'm from down here in Georgia. So I like that friction of influences that kind of help us come together. So even though I did write everything in terms of framework, I always left space for them to be themselves and kind of shape the music.
Okay, so your grandfather is on the album. Very nice interlude into the next song. And then you mentioned earlier that your grandfather kind of influenced you. What other jazz artists influenced you? Who are you listening to that kind of got you inspired with this album?
My favorite drummer, artist, musician is Max Roach. Drummer. He kind of got his start in the 40s with the bebop era, but he just basically did what he wanted, and he also had a very keen understanding of civil rights, and I just love that he did jazz. He also did like percussion ensemble things, and he also put out a hip-hop album in his later years, and he's kind of been an inspiration. He was actually the first jazz album my dad got me when I was a kid, so I think he would be the main focus. But in terms of writing, I'm very into Robert Glasper. I like Gretchen Parlato's music, Lionel Loeke, also Chief Adjua, who formerly went by Christian Scott from New Orleans. He's a great example of adding contemporary jazz with Southern hip hop, so he's also been a big influence.
When my father and your grandfather took this picture, you were just a little lad, and I had no idea that this would be a part of an album cover. And so I had it enlarged, and I made a shadow box for you. And I want to just tell you, a talented group, thank you. Where's Julius? Yes, thank you guys, you're great. So this is just the beginning. I'll make you another one on your second album.
who would you like? Who would you have liked to perform with back in the day, jazz legend? And who are some of your artists that you would like to perform in the future? Say, for instance, you do a new EP or a new album. Who's the artist, jazz artist, or even R&B or you know, outcasts? Who you want to collab with?
Yeah, I guess in the past it would probably be Ahmad Jamal, pianist, been sampled 1,000 times in hip hop, and just like I love the sensitivity of his group. His group has definitely influenced mine. I don't necessarily make the same type of music. I love how they interact with one another. He would be the main one from the past, but I think contemporary-wise, for me it would be Solange and Andre 3000. I think are the two. I just love that they never seem to follow the rules and kind of do their own thing, and I always support and respect that position on making art. So those would be the two current artists I would want to work with.
With your music, music is like another language. What do you want your music to say to the listeners now and in the future, when you know you want to retire, you just want to go up into the sunset, but you have this body of work? What do you want it to say to the listeners? What do you want the listeners to get from your music?
That's a heavy question. I think the main thing is that I was being honest. I think for a while I wanted to be impressive and cool and kind of fit in, but I think now I'm at the stage where I just want to be myself, and hopefully I can make things that will inspire other people to be themselves. No matter how pretty or ugly that may look like, I think it's important that we kind of test those limits of who we are, because there's only one you, so the things that you make should reflect that.
But we'd like to thank you for being a great audience tonight. Give it up for yourselves. We'd like to thank Michael and the staff here at Red Light Cafe for hosting us. I'd like to give a special shout out to my family that's here in the front row. Especially my grandmother is here from Alabama, so we really appreciate all the love and support. We are independent artists. We financed this album through grants and crowdfunding, and a lot of you are the reason we were able to make this. So I really appreciate all the love and support, and it's good to come home and feel that love and support in person. So we're going to leave you with this one. Like I said, we do have CDs for sale, and hopefully y'all remember the special that we have in terms of pricing. And we'll leave you with this classic song by the great Kenny Garrett entitled Wayne's Thing. Thank you again.
Alvin Cobb Jr.
grab a CD on your way out, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully not in 10 years, but we'll be back. Thank you again.
What did you do to my phone? You ready? 1, 2,
I am just like him, shy and quiet, don't like to talk a lot.
Sign this, man.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming out.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you for having me.
He's a real man of God.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, man. You have a safe trip, okay?
Thank you.
All right, here comes the bass. Thank you for your... Thanks for the bass. Okay.